Hi everyone, I'm Charlie Cundiff, and for my film recitation presentation, I watched the animated short Le Clitoris. Um, Even though the film uses humor and simple drawings, it makes a really strong point that the clitoris has been erased from education, science, history, and culture, not by accident, but because female pleasure wasn't seen as important in a patriarchal society. The film breaks down how society treated the clitoris almost like a secret. Instead of teaching accurate information, schools either ignored it or treated it awkwardly. And the film basically argues that when women don't know their own anatomy, it's easier for patriarchal norms about sexuality to stay in place because I guess we're all being taught very similar things and you don't know. This connects to Coates' essay. Both the film and the reading show that female sexuality isn't misunderstood because women are confusing. It's misunderstood because society didn't think it mattered to learn about women's bodies in the first place. And they're blaming them, which is very, very not cool. Double standard. For scene one, starting at 40 seconds, scientists historically studied female sexuality only through reproduction. The film makes fun of how ridiculous this is, but also shows the consequences. If you only study women's bodies in terms of childbirth, then pleasure gets erased. This scene really shows that knowledge follows power. When men controlled the institutions of science and education, research focused on what mattered to men, not what mattered to women. Okay, for my second scene at 2 minutes and 20 seconds, it shows the full clitoral structure, mostly internal, with over 8,000 nerve endings. 8,000. How do you miss that? This moment hits hard because most people never see this diagram in school. Me, myself, I did not see this diagram in school. The film explains that the clitoris is entirely for pleasure, and yet it's barely mentioned in education. That's not just a mistake, that's erasure. It's exactly what Code was talking about. The information exists, but society didn't prioritize teaching it. When the clitoris is invisible, women are easier to control because they don't have full knowledge of their own bodies. Yeah. A fly just hit me in the face. Scene 3, at 3 minutes and 45 seconds. Freud said that women who had clitoral orgasms were immature. This part is funny in the film, but it shows something serious. Instead of questioning his own assumptions, Freud decided that women were the problem. And that logic reflects patriarchal thinking. If women's bodies don't match male expectations, then women must be wrong, not the men defining things. The film ends by emphasizing that knowing your own anatomy is empowering. Understanding the clitoris isn't just about sex. It's about anatomy, dignity, and rejecting the idea that women's pleasure is secondary or optional. Just like Cote, the film argues that reclaiming sexual knowledge is a form of feminist resistance. My two discussion questions here are, the first one is, why has information about female pleasure been seen as unimportant or threatening in society? And for my second question is, how does gaining accurate knowledge about the body challenge patriarchal power? I think just overall, just the ignorance of it